Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Fantasy Wizard Sports Show. I'm your host, Michael Merlin, the Wizard Smith. That's long, but it's good. Joined with me, the terrific twosome, Sir Philip Nickel and Lord Adam Filkins. How you doing tonight, guys?
Doing very well.
Oh, doing awesome, man. Ready for episode 2 here.
2. We're at 2. More than
Dose.
1. We're on our ways.
Dose.
On our ways. Yeah, so we are the Fantasy Wizard Sports Show. We'll start right off with some great social medias, of course. Where to find everybody at.
There you go.
So we did launch our first website on the YouTube video for the YouTube. Thank you, Adam, for putting that together. That on YouTube, Fantasy Wizard. On some Twitter X, Fantasy Wizard. Instagram, Fantasy Sports Wizard. Facebook is just Fantasy Wizard. And everything will eventually be linked from thefantasywizard.com.
The Fantasy Wizard. That's the Fantasy Wizard, all one word.com.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Phil.
Yep.
Tonight's show's topic will be a split schedule. We're going to do a top 24 running backs. We'll do the first 12, and then we'll break it and bring another episode of the top 12. Does that sound good, guys?
I'm excited about this, actually.
You're going to get your scrubs first, and then you're going to get
Working
your
well.
guys you should be starting second.
Although I have a feeling if you're going to do 24, the ones at 24 aren't. It's not like quarterbacks, I feel like. I feel like even the running backs at 24,
Is a very valuable position.
very
'cause
valuable. But yeah, you're right, though. But
It's a starting position still.
Yeah,
It's-
that is true.
Because fighting against my will, I want to go to a one running back system, and nobody else wants to go to that progressive.
that's very progressive.
Get away with this 2 running back deal, but that's just me. I always like to change it up.
At one point,
I'm a traditionalist.
Yeah.
I like the defense. I like the kicker in there.
Mikey hates defense and hates kickers.
Adam, one of you guys will be bringing kicker and defensive rankings, please, since you both are on that
The Wizard,
wagon.
yeah. I'll bring kickers. I don't
Okay.
mind.
Then you bring
Oh,
rankings.
I'll bring defense.
Okay. I want nothing.
I
to do
love
with
a
them.
good defense.
Awesome.
You know what I hate though? That's one of my fantasy football pet peeves is when you do have defenses in play and you get that one freak week where some defense scores like 33 points.
Yeah,
Because
I
they have
like that.
They have like 2 pick sixes
It's a
and,
blow-up game, just like any other
Yeah.
players at the other position have a blow-up game out of nowhere. It's an
and
outlier.
then you find out that it's somebody just streaming defenses and they picked them up off the scrap heap on Friday afternoon.
You make a great point.
You know, the one thing that I like, though, is a defensive player, they're affected by a bye week.
Right.
They're not affected by, one guy gets hurt, it doesn't blow your whole week on a defense.
Nope, and that's why I want to use, if we're going to use defenses in a couple leagues, we do still. I put all those points I can in there. Points for tackle for loss, points for sacks, of course, points for interceptions, but tackle for losses, 4th down stops, 3 and outs. I mean, pile the points out. When your defense is showing up, give them credit.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, because
valuable.
Yeah.
you can have a defense that doesn't do a whole lot as far as, they might not get a ton of picks, but if they're stopping a team every time, that's huge.
No, I love that because a lot of times, even back in the day, I remember being in leagues where all that mattered were interceptions, if the defense scored any touchdowns, fumble recoveries, and then amount of points given up, and nothing else mattered.
It is. It's a position where you start off the day with 10 points. That makes no sense at all, but whatever.
Well, I've had that. I remember the one year I had the Ravens. I was so excited because their defense was awesome. They had a game where they just dominated.
Yep.
They had 7 points.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
It's no
they
good.
dominated. They gave up very little, but
This
they
is
had
a-
7 points.
This is a topic I feel like we're going to debate a lot
all
of
the
shows,
time.
though.
I
Yeah.
think it's
We're going to
good.
talk about it.
I've always said with that defensive scoring, it is the last team. It's a race to 0. The last team that
Right.
doesn't have 0 gets to win the position on the week, and it's stupid. All this
No.
defensive talk. All right, guys.
I agree.
Yeah.
Starting strong.
It's your show. What do you
Start
want to
right-
move into next? You said you kind of want to
Yes.
do a news segment, or do you have other
Yep, we're gonna
ideas
have
in
some-
mind
Yep. On today's show, we said it will be the top 24, breaking down the first half of the 24.
for running backs?
Yes, sir. We'll have some news and notes. Of course, top 3. Today's top 3 will be greatest pitchers in MLB history. And I'm doing that because we are thick and thin into the
Spring training, right?
Yeah.
Opening day's right around the corner.
Yep. So we're going to have a little baseball entertainment for you, I guess, right?
I like
All
it.
right. Okay. So in news and notes, let us get to that. Busy free agency, right, guys?
Yeah, super busy free agency. I don't recall free agency being this busy in
No.
the past.
And it could be because I haven't paid as much attention to it as I have this year.
There's some validity to that too.
It really is picking up, though.
Oh,
last
it
few years,
is.
it's really
Well,
starting to pick up.
And there's big deals. It's not like it's, hey, so-and-so traded a scrub for a 5th-round draft pick.
Exactly. It's to Phil's point, what we said in pre-show, it's just running backs being traded to a different team for a running back that maybe is a year younger or whatever.
The running back carousel astounds me. And like some of these
Big
guys,
names.
like I said, yeah, big names, plus their stats. They're like, when I see comparisons, they're like, well, he's 1 year younger. He's going to save him. And it's only like he's going to save him $300,000.
Right.
And
1
last year, their stats were virtually identical.
Yep. Yes, sir. I'll run them through real quick. The biggest names. Josh Jacobs going to the Green Bay Packers, 4 years, $48 million. Running backs got paid. Last year they did not. This year they did.
This year they are, yeah.
Saquon Barkley, 3 years, $37.75 to the Eagles. Tony Pollard going over to the Titans, 3 years, $24 million. DeAndre Swift going to the Bears, 3 years, $24 million. Just again,
That poor sucker.
So he's
Yeah.
on his third team
Yeah.
already, and he's only in, his 4th season?
He'd be 5th or 6th by now.
5th or 6th?
Yep.
But I read something about him today where a lot of coaching, he's a handful for coaches, I've heard.
Yeah.
Gotcha. A diva running back.
Yeah, and his route running's a little lackadaisical, I've heard, and they don't like how he doesn't hit the hole exactly hard sometime as far as through the line.
Gotcha.
He kind of zigzags a lot, and some coaches don't like that.
Yeah, he got paid, but not as much as the top guys, but whatever, right? Flipping guys around.
Exactly.
He does have a great running back name, though.
DeAndre Swift, yeah.
Yes.
Swift. Not so swift, though.
No,
So I
not,
feel like this is my opinion moment. I
Yes.
feel like his knees are ticking time bombs.
Yeah.
well, those guys who move like that
Yeah.
generally are.
Everybody with the Lions said, why'd you get rid of Swift? Well, we see why. We got rid of Swift here for the Lions.
Yeah. Oh, I'll take that all day
Good
long.
call. Good
Anyway,
Yeah.
continue the
Continue
Wizard.
on. Devin Singletary going to the New York Giants, 3 years, $16 million. Antonio Gibson going from the Commanders to the Patriots, 3 years, $11 million. And rounded out, Gus Edwards going to his old coach, Greg Roman, onto the Chargers for 2 years, to be determined, TBD.
So
Oh.
that move, I'm wondering about if a change will do him some good because he seemed to have stagnated.
Yes.
Here's an interesting stat for you. In that loss in the playoffs by the Ravens to Kansas City, they only ran the ball to their running back 6 times that game.
That's 6
When
games total.
when they led the NFL in rushing all
Right.
season long.
Went against their game plan and they lost. Are you surprised?
Not at all. I just wanted to throw that out there. So
Thank you. Yeah, good point. Well, he's going over to the Chargers. That is Gus Edwards. So some running back news. Maybe next episode we'll throw out some other guys. There's a lot of signings, a lot of big names.
yes, there
So
are.
I do think that going to the Jets is going to help Saquon Barkley
Oh, I
finish
think
off his career decently.
So a couple guys I really love the change of surname for are Henry Gibson from Washington. He just had stagnated there, and also I like, as you said, I think it's going to help him a lot.
And you mentioned
Yeah.
Henry, and I didn't even mention Derrick Henry in this whole thing. Derrick Henry again went to, remind me?
Oh, he is with Baltimore.
He went to Baltimore as well.
He's with the Ravens,
Oh, he
so
went
he'll
to
be in that
Ravens, yep.
backfield with Lamar Jackson.
A lot of flipping
Yeah.
flopping between
Yeah.
these
Which
guys.
is going. That's really going to help him too.
So it's funny because Baltimore went from all their running backs being 5'10" and under to
Yes.
to having Derrick Henry now.
Wow. What a change of pace. Yeah, a lot of old running backs get new spots. So that's one of the biggest news of this free agency. A lot of stuff I've been sharing out through the Facebook page, just trying to get the word out, right?
I like it. Get that word out.
Get the word out. So
Knowledge is power.
that was your news and notes from around the NFL, and we'll jump right into today's top 3 greatest MLB pitchers. Start off, we'll go right over to, I wrote my notebook.
There you go.
Papers.
Papers.
Adam, your top 3. Start us off, number 3. Top 3 greatest pitchers.
So my number 3 is a little bit of an unconventional pick, but I was always fascinated watching him pitch. And looking at his stats, he was actually really good. Is Dan Quisenberry,
Yep.
Kansas City Royal great, total sidearm, so sidearm that it was underhand. He was a mound dragger with his knuckles.
Yeah.
Threw just a really hard to hit pitch. He didn't throw super hard. He was like an 85 mile an hour guy. Very rarely crested that. But he threw, when he'd throw a curve, that curve doesn't go down to the side. That curve would go up and then down. And it was just a really non-conventional. But he actually led Major League Baseball in saves 5 years in a row, which has never been done by another another pitcher.
And I'm sure it's hard to pick up what hitters look for a lot is the arm release point to see what pitch is coming. But when he's submarining like that, there's no slot you can see to see if it's a curveball or his changeup or his fastball.
And he was a master at it. I mean, if you look at clips of him pitching, very, very few guys are that sidearm with that much control and that much movement. I mean, a lot of sidearm pitchers have one movement. He still had several pitches.
I like it. Interesting start to our top.
Very good.
To our top.
Moving on to Phil now. You're number 3.
My number 3 is Mr. Control, Greg Maddux. So 1986 to 2008, his peak years, 93 to 97. For his career, 355 wins, 227 losses, over 5,000 innings pitched, 5,008. A career 3.16 earned run average. Wins over replacement, 116.7 for his career. And he pitched during the era when the ball was practically dripping with steroids, is what my paperwork says here. He made batters look helpless, and it was just by all his control. Once again, like Quisenberry, not overpowering. I think Maddox's fastball topped out at about 92 miles per hour, maybe 93. But he could put it anywhere he wanted to. So he rarely walked batters. He's got 3.37 strikeouts per base on ball. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he is the king of strikeouts there. He threw very few balls ever in his career.
Yeah,
overall.
Yeah, very few walks. I think I've read somewhere where it's like a handful of games where he had more than one walk.
Right.
For the whole game, and that's a
pitcher, man, throwing strikes.
He threw strikes, and that's what he did. He was never the king of strikeouts, but his walks and home runs allowed were absurd. 7 seasons, more than 22% higher than the closest pitchers. That's when Roger Clemens and Kevin Brown and Randy Johnson were pitching. He was 22% higher as far as home runs allowed and walk rate. He was that much better than those guys because he didn't give up home runs, didn't give up walks.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't get anything but strikeouts.
Right. Hall of Famer Greg Maddux is my number 3 for greatest pitchers of all time.
Thank you, Phil. Jumping over to mine then. My number 3, another good player. Going a little bit farther back, we're going to go Bob Gibson. Bob Gibson, long-time guy. As soon as I get my glasses to focus, I'll be good on this. Oh, boy. He is part of the 250-win club, part of the 3,000 strikeouts. That's 251 wins total. 3,117 total strikeouts. He had a 2.91 earned run average, 9-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion. He won 2 Cy Youngs, and he was the 1968 National League Most Valuable Player.
That's also the year that he went toe-to-toe with the Tigers in the World Series and ended up shockingly losing. The Tigers won that World Series in '68.
There you go.
Even though Gibson was actually absolutely lights out. He's a fierce competitor, too.
Yes, he was. He had 9-time All-Star.
Yep.
Just everything. He was the NL wins leader in 1970, the MLB ERA leader in 1968, NL strikeout leader in 68. Just the 68 season was something else. You said the season they ended up losing to the Tigers in the World Series. Wow.
He wants that one back, but there you go. That's great. I love that start. He was, if he wasn't in your top 3, he was definitely going to be in mine.
Yeah. One card I'm searching for, Bob Gibson.
That's right.
Card, yeah.
You're looking for that, huh?
Yeah. Well, one that I can afford. A nice one that I can afford. There you go. That is our number 3 of our top 3 coming on. With that, we'll jump into our top 24 early rankings for running backs, no rookies. And this news broke throughout the week with free agency, so this list will definitely change 100%.
Right.
It is going to be a lot of change. We'll see how it goes. Start off number 24 right away. James Conner. James Conner from the Cardinals.
Is he's still with the Cardinals?
He is.
He battles injuries a little bit, but I like him. I've drafted him a lot. I've had him in fantasy football, probably on at least 5 or 6 of my teams.
Same. He said he does have the injuries every year. He's never going to play all 17 games, but he will give you touchdowns galore. He's in the passing game. He is getting older, but he's still staying productive for his age. I'm going to flip over and see if I can pull quick numbers up on him.
He really is, and I remember one season he got hurt. I believe it was a wrist injury or something very early, and that's a year that he went.
Yeah,
he was a first rounder for a lot of people that year.
Yeah, yes,
and so that really soured people. But still, I think if one of the years he came in mid-season or a few games into the season and just dominated. If you were to pick him up and stash him on your bench, or pick him up off the waiver wire, you struck gold there.
He was one of the few 1,000 guys on the season. That's 1,000 yards rushing. He had 1,040 to be exact. He finished on the season number 18, so I said with number 24, a little lower, but he is getting up in age.
I like
James
him
Conner.
here. Yeah.
Quickly on to number 23. This is another one that might not change. We'll see one of the guys in the trades this week. DeAndre Swift finished last year number 20, so I have him slotted in here at 23. He was another 1,000-yard rusher, 1,049.
I liked him. I like it. He was in that Philadelphia offense, so it was easy to produce in that offense. It'll be interesting to see him now with the Bears.
It was easy to produce, even though he didn't as much. He had 1,000 yards on the ground, but he only, let me look here.
He didn't get to the end zone much.
He did not get in the end zone.
Because they had, what's his name, vultured a lot of touchdowns.
15 rushing touchdowns for the quarterbacks. We hit on that last week a lot.
Yeah, we did. We really did. He's to the Bears now, right?
He's to the Bears.
Yeah, yep.
Andre Swift to the Bears.
It's going to be hard to do anything there.
The Bears.
It's going to be hard for him to do anything with the Bears, but I mean, I have this sneaky suspicion that at least 2 games out of the season, as long as he's with the Bears, he's going to want to put on his best face for a team that traded him away. You don't think so?
It'll matter.
That doesn't matter anymore?
It does.
Oh, it does to him, I'm sure. I don't know if
It
it'll
won't matter
for
overall.
him. He might want to do the best against them.
Well, I know that
more than anybody.
So
but
they're going to play
team-wise,
against.
it won't.
They're going to play against the Lions. DeAndre Swift's going to have 180 yards and 2 touchdowns, but they're going to lose 38-17.
Okay. Okay. That is definitely feasible.
that's if they pick up a kicker.
Yeah, right.
Because they ain't got nothing left.
They struggle with the kicking game. They definitely do.
They're getting so bad they're going to build a new stadium.
Oh.
Try and resurrect it that way.
You'd
Yeah,
say the
boy.
Bears?
Yeah.
So news came out that they're not going to go out to that demolished horse track. They're going to stay in
Arlington
downtown.
Heights,
Yeah,
they
Arlington Heights.
are. Well,
I think they would be. Why do they keep saying that they're going to stay in town now?
Well, they said they're going to stay in town. It's a whole mess. It sounds like they've promised $2 billion of their own money to stay in town for a $3 billion stadium, which the NFL will kick in some. Mm-hmm. They have the land for that already worked out. My guess is that they were finding out that if they moved out of town, they were going to lose a lot of tax incentives. People weren't happy about it. It wasn't going to be good if they moved out of town.
No, not at all. But wherever that new stadium lands is where they will be.
Yep.
That's what's going to be the ticket. On to number 22, Josh Jacobs, another guy involved in some trade action this week. Or free agency signing, I should say. Josh Jacobs, number 22. He was the leading rusher a couple years back, so fresh off, not that long ago.
He was an absolute beast. It was, 2 seasons or 3 seasons ago?
2 seasons ago
I
now.
don't like him.
rusher.
I've never drafted him. Personally, he's on my
Yeah.
stay away list.
Yeah. So 22 is
That's
probably
my
a good
own
spot for
personally.
him.
Yeah. And I would put Connor and I would put Swift behind him, so that's okay.
Okay.
Now watch him come out and absolutely prove us all wrong. And at the end, when we do our postseason rankings, he'll be like number 7.
Yeah, that's what we need to look at, too, where we started with, how we moved
So you
them.
need to keep these lists and definitally do that.
Yep.
Yes.
We're going to have those boards. We're going to put some boards up in the
We're going to do
Palm
power
Street
rankings
Studios.
every week. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking where that, trying to remember where he went. He went,
Jacobs.
yeah, to the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, he's with the Packers.
There
Yep.
we go.
He's with the Green Bay Packers, and they cut Jones, the oft-injured Aaron Jones.
Yep. It's just, again, it's a toss-up for one to the other.
They seem like the same running back to me. I'm not going to lie.
It was a lot of spots. When you
Yeah.
said that, it hit home. It's a lot of spots are the same, just a different name.
It's just it's like swapping out I don't know, great value noodles for value great noodles. It's like the same
The same thing.
thing, different package, you know?
For sure.
Just slightly different.
Number
So-
20. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just moving on to number 21. Keeping this ship rolling. Tony Pollard. He was amazing when he had somebody else in the backfield with him, and
Right.
then he got all by himself, and it was junk.
When Zeke was at his prime, Pollard looked amazing. There was the thunder and lightning right there.
It was.
Where did Pollard end up going to?
Pollard went to the Titans.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah. Again, it's just a vanilla move, and nothing impresses me
I'd
much.
leave him
as
ranked
Schneider.
right here because honestly,
Yeah.
as of right now, everybody we've had 21 through 24, you could put them in a Yahtzee. You could put them in a Yahtzee cup and swirl them around and mix them up, and it wouldn't matter where they land. I feel like that.
Yeah, it's still going to be chance.
Yeah.
Pollard did manage to finish 14th last year, 226 points, 13-point average. So all 17 games, he was a part of the 1,000 rushing club, 1,005 yards. Just not much. Blah.
Pretty quiet, very vanilla because of the obviously he's on the Cowboys, so and I don't know, nothing sticks out about the Cowboys besides the fact that nobody likes the Cowboys.
Somebody does. They got an awfully big fan base.
Well, I know.
And that their wide receiver had 400 points in fantasy this year. That's
CeeDee
something
Lamb
that
was
sticks
a
out.
Crazy beast.
All right. There you go.
All right.
All right. Tony Pollard, he's a blah. Had a lot of these guys. We're in the bottom half of that top 24. Austin Eckler, number 20. Is he anywhere?
Love Eckler.
Still?
Hasn't signed yet.
Hasn't signed yet.
No,
Still
there was
love him?
rumor he was going to sign, I believe.
All right. You're still rolling with him, but just way back.
I think 20 is a good spot for him, but TBD,
Yeah,
this
I
guy
would
could
say
move
so.
up.
I mean, he was drafted early first round last year.
Yeah.
And disappointment.
Disappointment.
I'm not even going to look to see. Oh, there he was. 26. Finished 26th.
Yeah.
Ooh. Injuries. It was a problem all season long, but hey, that's
Yeah,
Austin
he was one
Eckler.
of those guys that he had what they call those nagging injuries all year long. So
Never got right.
he'd have never got right. He'd have those times, usually those lower body injuries. You deal with that a lot.
For sure, all season long, especially early. He got it in week 2, I think it was, or week 1.
Well, especially for running back, because it's just a punishing position. Whether you're blocking, if you're blocking, you're undersized, and if you're running, you're getting hit.
So this just in,
Okay.
he is signed with the Washington Commanders.
And that is Austin Eckler.
Austin Eckler is signed with the Washington Commanders.
Filling one spot that Gibson left. It's just, I don't know. It's not impressing me.
He's only 28 years old, so
28. That's old for running
but that's
back.
ancient for a running back in the NFL.
That's like 45.
That's like our age for doing podcast.
There you go. Now, this is one guy that I have been on big since he's been in the league a couple of years, 3 years now. Ramondre Stevenson, Patriots running back. I have him at 19. That might be low, but who knows?
It's such a crapshoot, but Belichick's no longer the coach.
Right.
Belichick is fantasy poison for running backs because he'll do running back by committee and just doesn't care.
Well, very true.
Yeah.
He only played 12 games last year, finished 35 in total points. It was a rough season. 12 games mentioned. I'm looking for better things this year from Ramondre.
I am too. He's pretty young still, too, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. He's only in his, 23, 24?
Yeah, well, yep, exactly. 3 years in the league or
Yep.
so.
Yep.
Moving on to number 18. Right after this one, we'll do our split, go back to our top 3. But number 18, Alvin Kamara.
Still got it at his
Still
age.
got
He's
it.
ancient for a running back, but
He is.
he missed a good portion of last season, but came back very strong, I feel like. And I had him in a couple of my leagues. I stashed him on my bench and held on to him. Paid off. I took home a ship last year.
He was in my Dynasty League. He's been in my Dynasty League. He's staying there. I'm going to run him right in the ground, I suppose, because he is getting old and he's got no trade value now. But he's been doing it. Finished 11 on the season last year with 233 points, 17.9 average. So an 18-point average is pretty good. This is on full PPR, not half, but full PPR scoring. Yeah, number 18, Alvin Kamara.
I like the ranking so far. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna argue with any of these spots so far. Like I said, though, I even still feel even 18 now through 24. Shake them all up, put them in a burlap sack, shake them all up. You know,
What the running back position has changed into,
yeah.
and I mean, you don't have. Could you imagine saying those types of things about like an Emmitt Smith or a Barry Sanders or a Thurman Thomas?
No.
Those-
Back in the day when it was ride or die with running backs, man.
Yeah,
They stayed on
yeah.
the same team for years, and they rode running backs until either they completely broke or until they were in their early 30s.
Well, and everybody was expected to get 100 yards a game.
yeah.
If you weren't in that 90 to 120 yards every game, they probably weren't keeping you around.
It's true.
You said put a name in a hat and pull it out is basically what these guys are on this back end. Give you an
Yeah.
example for points-wise. Number 24, Devon Achane was 190 points scored. 201 points scored for number 18, James Conner. So 18 to 24 were separated by 10 points.
Yeah.
And, it's really like that, and I feel the big point disparages come when you get into wide receivers, but you're starting to see it way more in the running backs. And it's such a crapshoot, and honestly, this is taking a little bit of the skill part out of fantasy football and more of the luck aspect, I feel like, your secondary running back that you take, which are these guys.
Right.
There you go. Your second running back. If he hits,
Yep.
he hits. So I do got some coming up that are in that bottom half, but still have got some big upside to them. But before we do that, let's go back to our top 3. Number 2, Adam, for you. Greatest baseball pitchers as we are getting into spring training.
So my number 2 is the big unit, Randy Johnson. And again, because of his height, his delivery was it was exactly opposite of Quisenberry.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
by
opposite end of the spectrum.
by about 9 feet.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Where Quisenberry was hitting the hitting the ground, Johnson is hitting the upper deck with his release, and it threw guys off.
And taking out seagulls.
Yeah,
And taking out seagulls.
he hated birds, which I hate seagulls, so I can appreciate everything he's done in his career.
Great addition on the greatest pitchers list because he started off with his career that he could not throw a strike to save his career.
Yeah.
And turned out finishing his career with nothing but strikes.
So one of the other anecdotes I really like is if you stood in the batter's box against him as a left-handed hitter, and he was having one of his kind of so-so control days, you were a little scared when he's humming it in there at 101, 102 coming from that 9 foot in the air.
So here's the other part when you talk to some of the greatest hitters.
Actually, the right-handed hitters because
that
he was
wouldn't-
the lefty.
Lefty.
Yeah. When you talk to some of the greatest hitters that went against him, they're like, not only was his release high, but because of how long he was and he got to taking a big step, and that was one of the things with his control early on. He says that he was taking a much shorter step, like where most pitchers would step to.
Yep.
But most pitchers aren't his height.
10, yeah.
And so he started taking about a foot longer step.
Yep.
But that also put his release point
Closer to the plate,
Wait,
which
yes.
means that 100. I've read this actually that sprung my memory. They said his 101 to 102 felt more like 110 because he was that foot or two
Exactly.
closer to the plate.
Good
and,
point.
and less time to a fraction of a second. When you're talking every fraction of a second counts.
Yeah.
A fraction of a second to see the rotation of where that pitch was going to go, and it just made it harder.
And hopefully it's not in your ear hole.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good call on the big unit. Phil, you're number 2.
Sorry about that. My number 2, I'm going to go with the steroid guy here, Mr. Roger Clemens. Pitched from 84 to 2007. Career stats, 354 wins, 184 losses, 3.12 ERA, 133.7 wins over replacement for his career. 5-year peak, 86 to 90. Linked to steroids, as I said, just like Barry Bonds. But one of the all-time pitching leaders for everything. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Probably never will be.
Probably not.
Because of the accusations. He won the AL Cy Young in 86, 87, and 91, was the runner-up in 90, despite a 21-6 record with a 1.93 ERA. Absolutely robbed. AL MVP in 86, and his wins over replacement during that span, that 86 to 90 was 54. No one else even got to 34 in that time. So it's insane. Pitch for the Blue Jays, pitch for the Yankees and the Astros. And like I said, just a dominant pitcher. Roger Clemens could dominate at any point.
Sure was, and he would be in the Hall of Fame if it wasn't for the steroids. Would he have those numbers if it wasn't for the steroids?
That's the debate, and that's
the
exactly
debate.
why he's not in.
Okay. My number 2 is going way back again, Sandy Koufax. There's a guy.
Everyone knows that Sandy Koufax is one of the greatest pitchers in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah.
Not a long career at all. Played from 55 to 66, all for the Dodgers when they started off in Brooklyn, then eventually moved to Los Angeles. He was widely regarded as one of the greatest pitchers in baseball history. He was the first 3-time winner of the Cy Young Award, each time winning unanimously. The only player when it was a single award to be given out by both leagues. He was also named the National League Most Valuable Player. Did retire at age 30. Age 30, he retired.
Yeah, he hung it up early.
He did. Was a immediate first-year eligibility into the Hall of Fame at age 36, youngest player to do so.
Youngest player to make it into the Hall of Fame.
It was. Some quick stats for you. 7-time All-Star, 4-time World Series champion, 55, 59, 63, and 65. The NL MVP in 63. 3-time Cy Young Award winner, 63, 65, and 66. 2-time MVP Series and World Series MVP. A 3-time Triple Crown winner. 3-time MLB wins leader. 5-time NL ERA leader. 4-time MLB strikeout leader. Pitched a perfect game on September 9th of 65. Pitched 4 no-hitters. Wow. That's a lengthy...
4 no-hitters is supremely impressive.
Yes, that early. They do it. They do it. Did it quite a bit through the 80s and 90s, but
Right, I know. And that's...
back then they did
think
not.
about those numbers. Anybody that's pitched a perfect game, too, and 4 no-hitters, ugh.
So my number 2, Sandy Koufax. Good list so far, guys.
Not bad. Not bad.
with that, we'll jump right back into our top 24, the bottom half. Left off with number 18, Alvin Kamara. So we'll jump to Najee Harris, number 17.
I like him, and I hope he starts to do something because I too have him in my dynasty league. So yeah,
there you go.
I like Najee Harris here. Let's hope he does something.
Finished 23 on the year, 1,035 yards. So hey, whatever kind of thing. Another guy I'm big on, Brian Robinson, number 16 for the Washington Commanders.
Okay.
He did finish 21 last year. Played only 15 games, just under 200 points. But I see him moving on up.
I think so. I like it. I think that's a good spot for him.
With a full season.
Full season will do him a lot of good.
Here's one guy that you love. I know it. Number 15, Ken Walker. Ken Walker the third.
I do like Kenny Walker the third. Still with the Seahawks. He fights injuries here or there a little bit, but when he's on. He's an absolute beast.
Again, played only 15 games, so a couple that he did not play. Finished 19 on the season last year with just under 200 points. And looking for a little bit more at that 15 spot, I guess.
I look to draft him this year.
Okay. Here's one that sticks out. You said it last week. You want to draft number 14, Saquon Barkley, in the new spot with the Philadelphia Eagles.
I love the change for him, and I love the fact that he knows he's not going to have to carry the brunt of everything with the offense. Saquon Barkley is going to have a beast of a season this year as long as he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that with the change, he's going to have a better offensive line to work with. He's obviously got Lamar Jackson to work with. It's going to be big.
He's going to have a killer season. It's going to be awesome to see.
I penciled him in here at 14. He did finish last year at 13 on the season. Played 14 games, injured again, but that's the running thing with anybody that's not in that top 12.
It really is.
And last guy on the list, this first half of the top 24, or the bottom half, David Montgomery, number 13, Lions running back. There he is.
Love him. You know, I was skeptical as hell when the Lions picked him up, but really, he impressed me last season.
Finished 17 on the year last year in points with 207. He was one of the rare 1,000 guys at 1,015 total on the ground. David Montgomery.
Yeah, I think a solid pickup. I think he's going to be solid again. He's probably got a few more years of being solid.
He does.
See, and we're starting to get to the point of the list where I see a ton of value here, and also
Right.
these guys are where they should be, I feel like, compared to who's come after them. Mm-hmm. We'll have to wait till next episode to see who's ahead of them.
Yay. Okay. I like where you're going with that. So that will complete our top 24 bottom half. This early 2024 rankings. No rookies on the running back side. One more thing to get us out. Our top spot in the baseball greatest pitchers for Major League. Adam, your number one. First to number 3, you had Dan Quisenberry. Number 2 was Randy Johnson. Your number 1, Adam.
So I was going to go Justin Verlander, but I had a really hard time with him. Not because he's not great, he is, but my theme that I kind of went with was unique pitchers, and there is no more unique pitchers than a knuckleballer, and Phil Niekro was probably the greatest knuckleballer.
I love it. I love
time.
it.
Yankees, wasn't he? The Yankees?
He was a little he ended his career with the Yankees, but he retired at Atlanta Brave.
Got it. Phil Niekro.
Hall of Famer, 318 wins, had a 19-year career.
Wow.
And for a pitcher, that is phenomenal. But when you're a knuckleballer, you don't put any wear and tear on your arm.
And that's what made him 19 years.
19-year career, and was good through the whole thing. He was consistent. If you can get that knuckleballer, and Tim Wakefield, another great one, throwing the knuckleball. But if you can get that knuckleball down, you are hard to hit. And it's
just hard. There's no rotation on it, and that's what hitters key on because that ball literally flutters and does not rotate.
Yeah, and I've watched a bunch of videos about knuckleballs lately, and watching these guys, some of the new kids coming up that are throwing them have really worked. With all the video stuff we have now and the way they break down their pitches, they have got these things to where they look like they're just floating in, but they're coming in at 90, 95 miles an hour, but there's no movement to them whatsoever. No rotation, lots of movement. They're random.
So, and without that rotation, what hitters tend to do is either pop it up because they get under it, or they chop it right to the ground because they get over top of it because they can't pick up the rotation.
Right. There you go. Good pull on that one. Thank you, Adam. Phil, your number 1 coming up. Number 3 was Greg Maddux. Number 2, Roger Clemens, your number 1 greatest pitchers in MLB history.
My number 1 in my brain has to be number one and always going to be number one because it's the award that everyone strives to win is named after him, Cy Young.
Okay.
1890 to 1911, 511 wins.
Wow.
Versus 316 losses, over 7,300 innings pitched, career 2.63 ERA. His 5-year peak, 1901 to 1905. Trying to compare Cy Young's numbers to anybody in modern baseball, forget about it. During one 5-year stretch, he pitched 184 complete games with a 1.93 ERA. Roger Clemens had 118 complete games in his 24-year career. He's thrown more complete games to anyone dating back to 1894. Like I said, he's the award that everyone strives to. Everyone who's ever picked up a baseball and threw a pitch wants to win the Cy Young Award. So Cy Young is my greatest pitcher of all time in Major League Baseball.
There you go. Nice pull. The guy they named the trophy after.
That's right.
Yeah, he was okay.
Yeah.
He was okay. Just good enough. My number one, I'll go back. My number 3 was Bob Gibson. My number 2, Sandy Koufax. My number 1, if you can't guess who it is, Nolan Ryan. Lynn Nolan Ryan Jr. to be exact. The Ryan Express. Get this, 27, over a record 27-year playing career. 27 years. Okay, started in 1966 with the Mets, finished in 1993 with the Texas Rangers. Started in 66, finished in 93.
A pitcher that started pitching in 1966, 12 years before I was born, and I remember watching him live.
Yes.
There you go. That's 27 years is special, but a lot of things that go with him. He part of the 300-win club with 324 wins, 3.19 ERA, strikeouts, 5,714 strikeouts. Wow.
Yeah, no doubt about it. If I had to pick a number 1 on my list, it might be Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan's right there, and the thing that sticks out to me is those 7 no-hitters.
7 no-hitters. There you go.
7 no-hitters. Never won a Cy Young Award, though.
Never won it.
Which they said Roger Clemens only, never threw a no-hitter, 7 Cy Young Awards, though.
Correct. There you go. Thank you for flipping that one up.
Yeah.
I like it. Nolan Ryan was an 8-time All-Star, World Series champion in 69, 2-time NL ERA leader, 11-time strikeout leader. Of course, with over 5,000 strikeouts, you're going to lead the league in strikeouts. Yeah. Retired by the Los Angeles Angels, number 30 retired. Houston Astros, number 34 retired. Texas Rangers, number 34 retired. Angels Hall of Fame. Houston Astros Hall of Fame. Texas Rangers Hall of Fame. Major League Baseball All-Century Team. And, of course, inducted in 1999 to the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
So when you pitch for more than a quarter century,
yes,
more than one team can retire your number.
Yeah, I just was reading through the stats. I'm like, that's amazing.
Nolan Ryan's one of my favorite and absolutely just a beast. And I think I don't know the exact numbers, but there was a game that went extra innings and he threw 235 pitches in the game.
Wow.
Won the game and then still missed. And then 3 days later started on short rest and pitched another 120-some pitches and won the game.
He is also the only pitcher since 1950, because I did some research on him, he actually ended up pitching in 5 straight games. There was a 1-day break in between.
Wow.
5 straight games he pitched in.
What an animal. Just top of the board.
Just a beast. I love it. I think we did very well with all of our list. I appreciate it.
We spanned the whole gamut of eras.
Of the baseball history in Major League Baseball.
There you go. There you go, your top 3 from each of us. Greatest baseball pitchers of MLB history. Been a good show, guys. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Adam.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate you guys' input.
Make sure you tune in and get the part 2 of this episode, which will be released the next day.
Yes, sir. You can find all of our socials, YouTube Fantasy Wizard, along with X, Facebook, the same Fantasy Wizard, Fantasy Sports Wizard on Instagram, and thefantasywizard.com for all of our socials. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. And always remember to
make good choices.